Good morning and welcome to another episode of Coffee with the County. Today I am with Paul Kazmerzak.
Morning.
How are you today?
We're doing well.
Paul, what department do you work in and what is your role here with the county?
Sure. So I'm at the Highway Department. We're the off-site branch of the county government, right? So we're out at the airport. That's where we're headquartered. And I've been doing right-of-way and permitting for about the last year. But before that, I've been with the Highway Department for about 16 years and doing engineer technician work. So basically that means anytime the county does work under contract. So there's a lot of things that we don't do in-house. We hire it out. And so when we hire that work out, we need a good plan and we need somebody to watch over that contract and make sure they're getting paid for everything they do and not for things they don't do, right? And quality control and testing. So that's kind of my background with the county.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are you originally from the Aiken area?
No, not at all. No, I grew up in eastern South Dakota, ended up around for a while, and went to the tech school in St. Cloud. And at the time when I got out of the tech school, there wasn't a lot of job opportunities, but I knew I didn't want to work in the Twin Cities, right? I had done an internship and fought the traffic. And one of the things that at lunchtime, being on the survey crew, they said, all right, you need to watch the instrument. We were down on like Lake Street in Minneapolis. And I said, well, what am I watching it for? And they said, well, so someone doesn't take it. And so, and I was like, oh, okay. So when I saw the opportunity in Aiken, I looked at a map because I'd never heard or been to Aiken, and I've been here ever since. Love the town. It's my community. It's my town now.
That's awesome.
Yep.
It's great to hear. I hear so many people that I talk to that come in here they've come from different areas and they move here and they find that this is the place to be and that's really good to hear for the future of our county, is that people are coming to it or coming back to it and really love the atmosphere. And it's a different world in some of those metro areas and not for everybody. So
well, I think the proof is when we see what I call the Great Migration every about Thursday afternoon. You see this traffic. It's coming to our area, right?
Yeah.
So that's good proof.
So what exactly does your role do again at the Highway Department?
Yeah, so currently when we do a project, it takes a lot of planning and a lot of permitting, and there's a lot of different layers. And I'm still learning it, but that's my job, is to get the projects that we hire out or some that we do in-house from an idea to the construction phase, right? So it's environmental permitting. There's from federal all the way to county level permitting and rules that we need to comply with. So making sure that we're complying with all those rules and getting all the right permits and getting all of our steps in order to get that project to construction.
Yeah,
right,
so you're the guy that gets it done.
Yeah,
you're the guy that takes the dream.
I don't do anything, right? So I just I don't build anything, right? I just try and get it to that stage. And in addition to that, so part of my title is the right of way. So obviously sometimes we need land. We need the space to build the bridge or the road. So yeah, I'm the person from the government trying to take your land, right? and I'm kind of mindful of that. That's really not what it is. There's a process. Everything is pretty upright and fair, and that's the way it should be when the government needs your land. That's how the United States works. We don't just take your stuff, right?
Yeah,
but still I'm aware of that, that stigma of taking my land. So
yeah, and one of the reasons why we do a lot of these podcasts is and we joke about the perceptions that are out there, and planning and zoning has its own perceptions that they're the guys that say no to everything that we want to build and all that, and it's just not true. We're here to help. That sounds funny. We're the government. We're here to help. But it's the way that it works. And we're here to create plans that are making our area safer, that are making our area easier to get around transportation-wise, things like that. It doesn't sound like this stuff happens overnight, though. How long does a project take?
Well, projects that are pretty complex in nature, I mean, that might be from the idea from identifying a need to seeing the project to completion, that might be 10 years. And it's not all working steady on this project for 10 years, for sure. Sometimes things get shifted around, priorities changed, maybe opportunities. We'll try and sometimes lump projects together for just economic reasons. When we hire the work out, there's economics in, combining projects sometimes, or sometimes it is permitting or land acquisition that holds up projects.
It takes
that can
a while
certainly
for that
happen.
kind of stuff to work itself out.
It certainly
get
can,
done.
especially when you're dealing with things like the government. I'm dealing with other government agencies, and we're all moving at the speed of government, right? And we're working with the railroad, and you're on railroad time when you're working with them.
Absolutely. That's one thing I did learn when I came from the private sector, and I saw government works at a different speed, and it works at its own speed. And there's, I'm sure reasons behind all of that, and the reasons why it takes some of the time that it does. Government doesn't make quick decisions that they have to go back on later. They try to get the 100% decision first and know the way that they want to go. So it's been interesting.
Kind of a zero risk policy, right?
Yeah, exactly. So any projects that come to mind that you want to talk about that are coming up? But what are you working on now? And
Sure. So a big project that we have working on now that's been in the process for a long time is our County Road 5 through Kimberly. If you can picture like from Dam Lake up to Highway 210. So County Road 5, there's a lot of it, and it goes all the way north of Palisade, and a lot of it's already built. But there's a section in there, it's maybe 4 miles long. It's still just a windy gravel road, and it crosses a big bog. That big bog has been probably the biggest reason that it hasn't been upgraded yet. There's a timber bridge, there's the railroad crossing, there's some complexities in there that have been in the works for a while, and so now we're finally to the stage where we've purchased a lot of the land out there, got a lot of the permits, and we're hoping to start some tree clearing this winter and get on with the earthwork. And then finally, that would probably be 2026, where we would do the bulk of the dirt work, and then finally pave it in 27. So it's already been going for 10 years, probably, and now, or 6, 7, I don't know, and it'll be another 3 or so before it's the final product. So that's a big one going on. A lot of times, we'll have just a constantly upgrading our pavement roads. Pavement just only has a finite number of years before it needs to be upgraded. So pretty much doing paving projects every year, the same with bridge replacements, ongoing list of bridges. Timber bridges that were built in the 60s, they're getting towards the end of their life cycle. So we're replacing a lot of old bridges with newer, wider concrete bridges typically.
Do you set up for the inspections of the bridges and things like that?
I guess that is another one of my,
that
that is our department, and that actually is another one of my roles that I still do, doing the bridge safety inspections.
Sure.
So county highway department, you get to wear a lot of different hats, right? So I still get to go outside a little bit and do those safety inspections. So, we do, I think we're at about 118 bridges. And a bridge isn't maybe what you'd think of when you hear bridge, right? So even a box culvert, because Minnesota is Minnesota, they say we want to, the federal highway says it's a 20-foot span, which is a decent-sized bridge. But Minnesota says, well, we want a bridge to be a 10-foot span. So any large culvert may be considered a bridge. Yep, and that we would go and inspect that big culvert. And it's mostly though for funding purposes. Now we can get funding to replace those big culverts as a bridge, and just inventory them. And so they get a safety inspection also.
Yeah.
So we do all the county roads. And there's only a couple of city municipal bridges in Aiken County, and we handle those also, and also the townships.
I was going to ask about township roads.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different levels of road authority. Lowest being cities and townships, and they are responsible for those roads. And so we have the county roads, which is like your 12 and Deer Street and stuff like that. And then in Minnesota, the state takes care of state highways and U.S. highways. And that's something I guess we get some confusion on sometimes. People think, well, we'll just call the county because they do the roads. And I think Wisconsin, I think they do it a little different. I think their county does do a lot of their state highways, but here we have different, road authorities. So if, it's kind of frustrating to people, but sometimes they'll call and we'll say, well, that's not our road. Sorry,
Yeah. Yep.
So it's just those county roads that we maintain, basically.
Yeah, that's really important for listeners to know, because I'm sure there were people that were blaming the county for the 169 road closure, which although we all knew we needed it, that wasn't the county that was responsible for that road construction out there. That was the state, correct?
Right, but we were definitely affected by it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So I think we all just realized how important that road is, and how when it's not there, what an impact it has. So this year was a really tough year for our department because of that project. Even though it was not our project, we had nothing to do with it. Google Maps was taking people down our gravel roads. Mm-hmm. And these are roads where today you might have 50 cars on them. And that's fine for a gravel road. But when Google Maps starts diverting 2,000 cars every day onto our gravel roads, they're just not made for that. And we had a lot of moisture early in the year and no moisture late in the year. So what that meant was our poor people that were living on these roads or trying to drive them were getting either mud or dust, maybe in the same day.
Yep.
Because we just couldn't keep up with it. There's nothing that we could have done any better to keep up with that much traffic on our gravel roads. And we'll be trying to, bring those roads back to where they were for a little while yet. That's going to take some time.
Yeah.
But
Sitting in front of you, I may or may not have been one of the drivers that took the local detour versus the detour that was designated.
Well,
but I will tell you that I really compliment your department on the amount of work that was done on those roads, the county roads that people were going down, the ones that you just explained. That's not an easy job, and it was handled very, very well. And overall, I'm sure that there were people that were concerned, but I'm sure that the majority of the people saw the work that was getting done by your department to make sure those roads were passable and safe and that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of jokes about the grader guys, the guys that are running the motor graders and trying to maintain them. Everybody thinks that looks like that's a pretty simple job. You just jump in there and drive it around. There's a lot of art that goes into that, and the conditions have to be right for it too. There was many times where it was too wet and you're just pushing around mud, and the alternate is true when it's dry. You try and fill those holes with dry dirt, and it's like trying to pack baby powder. And so the first car comes over it and it just fluffs that powder out. And that's why some of those roads got so choppy and nothing was done about it, because there's really nothing you can do when it's that dry. We needed to wait for moisture, and it didn't happen. Yeah. And you could take a semi-truck of water out there and dump it on it, and it's gone in minutes. Yep. There's just nothing, no replacement for that weather that we needed. Absolutely. So, I appreciate, too, everybody that was patient with us and, made this long, difficult summer, because you know what, Mark? I may or may not have been one of those people also that
We're
took
not
the easy
writing
route.
any of it down, and you didn't get it on the recording. So I don't. And you mentioned County Road 5. Any other projects that come to mind that people should know about?
Well, we've got some work over by McGregor coming up. That'll be County Roads 62 and 71. So another route between kind of two different paved routes. So a higher volume gravel road that will be improving and digging some ditches, improving drainage, and making a base that'll support pavement, and eventually getting that one paved also over by McGregor. We're constantly producing gravel. The county owns some pits, and we hire contractors to come in and crush aggregate for our use. And so that's kind of an ongoing thing, every once in a while.
Routine maintenance,
pretty
of
routine.
Regular roads
every
and
year or
things
two.
Like that?
Yeah, we have a contract come in and put up some piles for us.
And if our listeners have any questions, can they reach out? Do they just call the number on the website? Is there a place to
we
get
finally
a
got
hold
the
of you?
number on Google fixed. It used to go back to our mechanics, and they just love that. But now it rings the right number. It's 927-3741, and that's our front office, and they can get you directed to the right people, whether it's a maintenance question. So at the highway department, we're kind of broke up between kind of some office and admin staff. That's probably where I fall in, and then we have our maintenance guys. Those are the guys that actually do the work. They're out there today.
They're out there every day in the
every day.
elements.
They're the snow fighters, right? They're the ones that are visible, and everybody, they're doing the job, plowing the snow, replacing culverts, cutting the trees back, and everything in between, patching cracks and everything. So that's probably maybe 20 guys or so spread out between 6 shops. So geographically, we're a big county, sparsely populated, but that's still a lot of miles of road.
Yep.
So we've got some out shops that are spread out.
Where are those located at?
Well, let's see. We've got McGrath and Aiken. We've got Palisade, McGregor, Swatera, and Hill City.
Okay, so you've got shops spread out all over where the cities are and where the areas are. That makes it a little bit closer and easier to get the maintenance done on those roads. That's really good. So
that's the maintenance focus. The other side would be the engineering focus. So like I said, anytime we're doing the kind of projects that we don't have the equipment or the experience to do or the manpower, that's when we hire the work out. Building bridges, paving roads. So then we have a staff of engineer techs also. They're the ones that are doing the surveying and the design, drawing the plans, and then when it comes time for the construction, they're doing the quality control, they're doing the monitoring and the recording, what gets done, and if there's any problems that need to be addressed.
It's interesting to hear the inside of that, right? I don't think the general public knows that's how all that happens from the county level or from the state level, and I think it's really interesting to hear that stuff and appreciate you coming in and telling us about it.
Sure, yeah. A lot of people think, you work at the highway department, you must plow the snow. That sounds really fun to me some days, but no, not all of us do that, right?
Yeah, a lot more to it than that for sure, but the experts in the field like yourself, making sure that the things are getting done and getting done right, making everything safer and more passable for our residents, and we appreciate that. If you would like to come back, I would welcome you to come back at any time, tell us about more projects, and give us an update on things that are going on, and we'll make sure that the listeners get to hear that.
Well, maybe we should take requests, huh?
Yeah, we can do that.
Why do we have this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's an outstanding idea. If anybody has that, you guys know how to get a hold of us on the website. Reach out with your questions, and if you have specific things, we can sit down and talk about those. And
I wouldn't have all the answers. Maybe need some homework time, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we'll be experts before we do it. But Paul, I thank you very much for coming in.
Absolutely.
And, we'll see you again real soon.
All right.
You're listening to Coffee with the County.